Before we begin, if you want to deepen your understanding of your own psychology and never miss our in-depth analyses that help you discover your true self, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. These insights could change how you see yourself forever. There are choices we make that speak louder than any explanation we could offer, not because they are carefully considered, but because they rise from a place beyond conscious control. Right now, you are standing at the threshold of such a moment. Before you are four wild animals. They are not simply creatures of nature. Each one embodies a distinct archetypal force, a different way of wielding power, a unique strategy for survival. Before your rational mind begins to categorize or compare, stop. Breathe deeply. Notice which animal captures your attention, not through logic, but through an unspoken recognition. This is crucial. Do not overthink. The instant you begin to rationalize your choice, you distance yourself from the raw truth this assessment is designed to reveal. Carl Jung understood that the psyche communicates through symbols and archetypes that predate language itself. The unconscious does not speak in rational arguments. It speaks through visceral attraction, instinctive knowing, and deep resonance. The animal that calls to you is not random. It mirrors a fundamental survival strategy that is actively shaping your behavior, relationships, and sense of self at this very moment. This test operates by circumventing your rational defenses and accessing the instinctual, archetypal layer of consciousness where your authentic nature lives. As you observe these animals, you may experience curiosity, recognition, unease, or even a profound sense of being seen. Do not dismiss any of these reactions. Sometimes we are drawn not to what is most comfortable, but to what most accurately reflects who we are beneath our civilized masks. Once you have made your choice, hold that image clearly in your awareness. Each animal represents a different relationship with power, territory, vulnerability, and survival. None is superior or inferior. They simply reveal different archetypal strategies the psyche employs to navigate a world that is often harsh and unforgiving. This is not about categorizing your personality. It is about recognizing which primal force is currently dominant in your psychological landscape, asking to be acknowledged and integrated. Jung described the path to psychological maturity as individuation, the lifelong process of becoming fully yourself by integrating both the civilized persona you present to the world and the wild, instinctual energies you may have learned to suppress. What you are about to discover may already be influencing your choices in ways you have not consciously recognized. Now let us meet the first animal. The lion, the archetype of natural authority. If you chose the lion, you carry within you the archetype of sovereignty. This animal represents natural authority, confident leadership, and the psychological capacity to occupy space without apology. The lion does not ask permission. It does not seek validation. It simply is. People drawn to the lion possess an inherent sense of their own value that does not depend on external confirmation. You know your worth instinctively. This is not arrogance. It is self-possession. You likely have a commanding presence even when you are not trying. When you enter a room, people notice. When you speak, others listen. This is not because you demand attention, but because you naturally embody authority. There is something in your energy that communicates strength and capability. You do not need to prove yourself constantly because you operate from an internal sense of legitimacy. From a Jungian perspective, the lion connects to the archetype of the sovereign, the ruler, the one who holds the center and maintains order. Jung believed that healthy authority comes not from domination, but from integration. Those who resonate with the lion often find themselves in leadership positions, not necessarily because they sought them, but because others naturally defer to their judgment and presence. Your strength lies in your ability to make decisions and stand by them. You do not agonize endlessly over choices. You assess, decide, and move forward with conviction. This decisiveness makes you effective, reliable, and trustworthy. People turn to you in crisis because they know you will not collapse under pressure. You can hold steady when others panic. However, the lion carries a shadow. Natural authority can become tyranny when unchecked. You may struggle with control, believing that your way is not just best, but the only acceptable way. You may become rigid or dismissive of perspectives that challenge your worldview. When unintegrated, this can manifest as domineering behavior, an inability to show vulnerability, or a need to always be right. Another challenge is isolation. The lion often stands alone, not because it wants to, but because leadership is inherently lonely. You may find it difficult to form relationships of true equality because people relate to you through the lens of your authority. They come to you for guidance, but rarely see you as someone who also needs support. There is also the danger of pride. When your sense of self is built on being strong and in control, anything that threatens that image feels like an existential crisis. Failure becomes unbearable. You may push yourself to exhaustion rather than admit you need rest. The lion archetype asks you to examine this. Is your strength authentic, or is it a defense against the vulnerability you fear? Ask yourself, where are you confusing authority with control? Where are you leading with wisdom, and where are you dominating from fear? The lion is not asking you to become less powerful. It is asking you to wield your power with consciousness, to remember that true sovereignty includes the strength to be vulnerable. And yet not all power announces itself. Some power moves in shadow, silent and unseen, until the moment it strikes. To understand that contrast, we now turn to the second animal, the panther, the archetype of shadow power. If the panther drew your attention, you understand that true power does not always roar. This animal represents stealth, patience, contained intensity, and the capacity to move through the world without revealing your full strength until you choose. The panther does not broadcast its presence. It observes from the shadows. It waits. And when it moves with absolute precision. People drawn to the panther possess a quiet intensity that others find both magnetic and unsettling. You are likely someone who reveals very little about your inner world. You watch, listen, and gather information while giving away almost nothing in return. This is not deception. It is strategic self-protection. You have learned that showing all your cards makes you vulnerable. People may describe you as mysterious, private, or difficult to read. You prefer it that way. From a Jungian perspective, the panther connects to the shadow archetype not as darkness being evil, but as the hidden, the unacknowledged, the potent forces that operate beneath conscious awareness. Jung believed that the shadow contains not just our repressed fears, but also our unclaimed power. Those who resonate with the panther often have access to tremendous personal power that they have learned to conceal because expressing that power was not safe early in life. Your strength lies in your capacity for strategic thinking. You do not react impulsively. You observe, assess, and choose your moments carefully. This makes you formidable in situations requiring patience and planning. You do not need immediate gratification. You can delay action indefinitely, knowing that timing matters more than speed. When you do act, you do so with precision that often surprises those who underestimated you. However, the panther carries a shadow. Concealment can become isolation. When you hide your strength too well, you may also hide your need for connection. You may present such an impenetrable exterior that no one truly knows you. This protects you from betrayal, but it also protects you from intimacy. Another challenge is hypervigilance. The panther never fully relaxes. It is always scanning for threats, always prepared to defend or attack. This constant readiness is exhausting. You may struggle with trust, believing that letting your guard down will leave you vulnerable. You may interpret neutral interactions as potential threats. There is also the danger of becoming cold. When you suppress emotions for too long, when you refuse to be vulnerable under any circumstances, you risk losing touch with your own humanity. The Panther's power can become ruthless efficiency without warmth, calculation without compassion. Ask yourself, what am I protecting by remaining hidden? Where is my strength authentic, and where is it armor against intimacy? The Panther is not asking you to reveal everything. It is asking you to recognize that true power includes the strength to be known and the wisdom to discern who deserves access to your vulnerable self. Yet not all survival strategies require stealth or dominance. Some require endurance, resilience, and the willingness to carry weight that would break others. To understand that form of strength, we now turn to the third animal. The bear, the archetype of protective strength. If the bear captured your attention, you embody the archetype of protective power. This animal represents grounded strength, fierce boundaries, nurturing protection, and the capacity to endure hardship while providing safety for others. The bear is not aggressive by nature. It is peaceful, even gentle, until something threatens what it protects. Then it becomes unstoppable. People drawn to the bear possess a combination of tenderness and ferocity that confuses those who expect one or the other, but never both. You are likely someone others describe as solid, dependable, or grounding. There is a stability to your presence that makes people feel safe. You do not collapse under pressure. You do not abandon people when things get difficult. You show up. You hold space. You carry weight that others cannot bear alone. From a Jungian perspective, the bear connects to the archetype of the protector, but unlike softer versions, the bear's protection comes with teeth and claws. Jung understood that true caregiving requires boundaries, the capacity to say no, and the willingness to fight when necessary. Those who resonate with the bear understand this instinctively. You protect what matters with absolute commitment. Your strength lies in your endurance. You can withstand circumstances that would break others. Physical hardship, emotional pain, long periods of difficulty, you weather them with resilience that seems almost superhuman. You do not complain. You do not quit. You simply keep going. This makes you invaluable in crisis and a source of stability for everyone around you. However, the bear carries a shadow. Endurance can become a prison. You may have learned to carry so much that you forgot you are allowed to put something down. You may believe that your value comes from your capacity to endure, and therefore asking for help feels like failure. Another challenge is unexpressed anger. The bear is peaceful until provoked, but when pushed too far, its rage is devastating. You may suppress anger for long periods, tolerating disrespect or boundary violations because you do not want to be seen as aggressive. But anger that is not expressed accumulates. When it finally emerges, it can be disproportionate because it carries the weight of everything you did not say before. There is also the danger of isolation through overfunctioning. When you are always the strong one, people begin to relate to you as a resource rather than a person. They assume you are fine because you always have been. This creates loneliness where you are surrounded by people who depend on you, but no one truly sees you. Ask yourself, what am I carrying that is no longer mine to carry? Where is my strength authentic, and where is it compensation for unmet needs? The bear is not asking you to stop protecting what matters. It is asking you to protect yourself with the same fierceness, to remember that boundaries are not cruelty, and to understand that true strength includes the courage to be cared for. And yet there is one final strategy, one that survives not through strength but through intelligence, not through power but through adaptation. To complete this picture, we now turn to the fourth animal, the fox, the archetype of adaptive intelligence. If the fox is the animal you chose, you navigate the world through intelligence, adaptability, and strategic cunning. This animal represents mental agility, resourcefulness, and the psychological flexibility to shift approaches based on changing circumstances. The fox survives not because it is the strongest, but because it is the smartest. It sees what others miss. It finds solutions others overlook. People drawn to the fox possess a quick wit, sharp perception, and the ability to think several steps ahead. You are likely someone who thrives in complex, uncertain, or rapidly changing environments. Where others panic when plans fall apart, you improvise. Where others freeze when faced with the unexpected, you adapt. You have a natural talent for reading people, situations, and systems. You notice patterns. You identify opportunities. This makes you exceptionally resourceful. From a Jungian perspective, the fox connects to the archetype of the trickster and the wise advisor, the strategist, the one who survives through intelligence rather than brute force. Jung understood that the trickster is not simply a disruptor, but a necessary force that challenges rigid structures and creates new possibilities through unconventional thinking. Those who resonate with the fox often serve this function. You ask questions others are afraid to ask, who points out what everyone else is pretending not to see. Your strength lies in your mental flexibility. You are not attached to a single approach or identity. You can be whoever you need to be in any situation without losing your core sense of self. This is not dishonesty. It is adaptation. You understand that survival requires fluidity, and rigidity is vulnerability. This makes you effective in social, professional, and strategic contexts. However, the fox carries a shadow. Adaptability can become manipulation. When you are too skilled at reading and influencing others, the line between strategic communication and deception can blur. You may shape your presentation so carefully that you lose touch with what you actually think or feel. The fox can win the game but lose its soul in the process. Another challenge is trust. When you are always analyzing, always strategizing, genuine connection becomes difficult. You may view relationships as chess games. You may struggle to believe that anyone's motives are pure because you are so aware of hidden agendas, including your own. This creates cynicism that protects you from betrayal but prevents authentic intimacy. There is also the danger of exhaustion. Living by your wits is tiring. Always being alert, always adapting, always thinking ahead, it takes enormous energy. You may feel that you can never truly rest because relaxing your vigilance feels dangerous. Ask yourself, where is my intelligence serving me, and where is it isolating me? Where am I adapting authentically, and where am I performing? The fox is not asking you to become less strategic. It is asking you to recognize when your survival strategies have become obstacles to genuine connection, to remember that sometimes the greatest intelligence is knowing when to stop thinking and simply be. Integration. When the four animals walk as one. Your choice of animal was not a verdict. It was a revelation. Each animal represents a fundamental survival strategy, authority, shadow power, protective strength, or adaptive intelligence. But no human being operates from only one strategy. The purpose of this test is not to define you permanently, but to illuminate which archetypal force is currently dominant in your psychological landscape. Carl Jung believed that psychological maturity requires integration of all aspects of the self, not identification with only one. When we over-identify with the lion, we may lose access to subtlety and vulnerability. When we over-identify with the panther, we may lose access to open leadership and trust. When we over-identify with the bear, we may lose access to flexibility and the permission to not carry everything. When we over-identify with the fox, we may lose access to authentic power and the strength to stand firm. Your chosen animal reveals where your energy naturally flows. The other animals represent capacities within you that may be underdeveloped or waiting to be integrated. Growth begins when you recognize this imbalance without judgment. If you chose the lion, Integration means learning when to show vulnerability. If you chose the Panther, integration means learning when to step into visibility. If you chose the Bear, integration means learning when to ask for help. If you chose the Fox, integration means learning when to trust your instincts over analysis. Individuation is not achieved, it is practiced. You move toward wholeness through continuous awareness, through recognizing when one strategy dominates at the expense of others. The wild animals within you are not enemies. They are allies, each offering different strength for different circumstances. Take a moment to reflect. Where do you feel most yourself? Where do you feel like you are performing? Often, these feelings indicate which archetypal strategy you are overusing and which you are neglecting. The lion who learns stealth becomes a leader who knows when to observe. The panther who learns to lead openly becomes powerful without isolation. The bear who learns adaptability becomes protective without being trapped. The fox who learns to stand firm becomes intelligent without exhaustion. As you move forward, carry this awareness with you. Notice when the lion seeks to control, when the panther retreats into shadow, when the bear carries too much, when the fox calculates without feeling. These are invitations to integration, calls to balance, opportunities to become more fully yourself. If this reflection resonated with you, share which animal you chose in the comments. Your choice may help someone else recognize their own survival strategy. Because the journey is not about choosing the right animal. It is about learning to embody all of them with wisdom, balance, and the courage to be fully wild and fully human at the same time.